Boom.
Oh
Look at that.
We're back live.
Hey.
And we have audio.
Oh, and we do have
Oh my God.
Hi, guys.
The powers of the internet.
Totally promise I'm a professional usually. But hey, welcome to the second half of the Tie Jam. And Robert's going to be my beautiful model with amazing commentary from Andrea, who is hiding in the wings because she's got a little bit of a rib issue. So today we're going to work on just hip flexors, quads, some of the glutes, TFL, and a bunch of other things that I'm going to be saying, a bunch of other muscles, but really just the leg. A lot of times people will get that hip pain, you know, right around this area going down, on top of their thighs going down. And then we'll also do some really beautiful calf work because everybody needs their calves worked on. So the first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to come to the side, kind of square my hips up. I'm going to take my bottom leg and gently slide it underneath my receiver's knee. So here's his knee. Take my foot, kind of put it in like that, make it a little soft. That way I'm not, you know, stabbing him with a nice sharp part of my top of my foot. Then I'm going to take a nice broad foot and just press into his hip. And then to see other cameras, we're going to try that one. Oh, look, you can see me. Isn't that awesome? Again, promise you, totes professional. So I've got my nice soft foot underneath here, and I'm just doing some hip mobilization, seeing where, if there's any tension. I like his floppy foot. That means I'm moving stuff around. Now what I'm going to do, as you can see, as I'm lifting him up, I'm creating a little bit of a space underneath his hips and glute. I'm going to take my foot and pop up that hip so I can get into glute medius and glute maximus. And that is going to be here. So we're going to watch. Ready? 1, 2, and I'm going to pop it up. I'm going to get a little bit closer, hook this knee up. So as you can see now, I've got my foot into a little bit of TFL, a little bit of that glute medius, and all that jazz. And here is a little bit of a graphic so you can see what I'm pressing on. Right there, nice big glute max. And piriformis is going to be on the left, but these are all of the muscles up here on the side. Glute minimus, a little bit of piriformis, glute medius for sure, and glute max. And then back to 1. So here you can see, and I'm just pressing in. I'm not sure if you can tell, there's a lot of space underneath here because I've lifted this hip up. And again, I've got my other foot over here trapping his leg. You can kind of see 4. Oh, there we go. So you see my foot here. I'll go back to this camera. So pressing in, what I'm taking my toes and pressing in a little bit more into TFL because a lot of people need work. And I'm just going to gently rock because that's what I like to do. There's lots of different things that we can do here. I like this one. How does that feel, Robert? Good. So.
For me, I don't have, like me generally, I don't have huge issues in my glutes or huge issues with my legs, but my low back has been a little weird. And what I feel mainly is twist in my
Yeah, that's another reason why I like this, because we're lifting the hip. We're getting some nice kind of passive stretching through the front of the hips, but also all of that movement in the lumbar. So again, what I've got going on is my lower leg is holding and pulling his knee towards me. So I'm doing this kind of motion, this. So my top foot is pushing in, my bottom leg is pulling. And I'm just holding because this is what I feel. Feels good. And then again, to soften it back up and come in and move them around. How'd that feel? So find that TFL, press in. Again, I like to use broad to sharp. So we're gonna use the broad, nice flat part of my foot first. And then what I can do sometimes is come in, use the knife or the side of my foot, press in a little bit more. How does that feel?
A little sharper. But
yeah, it's definitely gonna be a little bit sharper. I want a little bit more, I can use my heel. How does that feel? Yeah, it is like a mean elbow. But the cool thing is I got my hands. My hands aren't hurting. Just hanging out. So. And I find doing this work starting out helps loosen up the hips. So when we go to do more of this hip or leg mobilization or any of your stretches that you love to do, a lot of times when you do those crossover stretches, your client or your receiver will get pain right here in their hip flexors. It hurts. So starting this way, I like to soften up. How does that feel?
The other part is I'm just a glutton. You can work on my toes. I'm like, oh
that
yes.
Is true.
Work on my feet. Oh yes. Oh, you work on my pain stuff. Oh yes. Touch me.
Robert is a wonderful receiver because I can go as hard as I like or as he likes, whereas I am a giant pressure sissy and he has to be very gentle and treat me like China, like fine China, not the country. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking the heel because Robert can handle that amount of pressure, and I'm just pressing in and slightly down. And again, that's going to be a little bit more on Vastus Lateralis and a little bit of a rectus femoris where it attaches. So we'll put this up there. I say rectus femoris.
Femoris sounds like a dog.
Femoris does sound like a dog.
It's like a dog in him.
Ooh, he's going to get you.
I like that. Now dog that.
Oh, we should.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I have to say the rectus femoris is kind of a jerk, and I could see dogs being kind of a jerk.
Exactly.
So the one, does that feel good?
No, you just
start naming
it was like
animals after
you
muscles.
hooked it up high and then just like sheared over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. So what I'm doing here is I've got my heel hooked in to Vastus Lateralis, shearing towards rectus femoris, and that's where Robert said, he said, ooh, because he felt that. Again, that's those hip flexors. They have a tendency to be really, really tight. We're just hanging out. Got my leg here to support his knee so he doesn't, you know, feel unsupported and have to worry about it, and he can just relax into what I'm doing. I've got my hands back here. In my practice, I usually have a big bolster I like to kind of lay on because I'm spoiled and I have a lot of different pillows. But very versatile to what you want to do. So I'm going to come out really slowly because this area is super tender and tendinous. We want to be gentle. How is that? Good. And then I like to come back in. Just that broad pressure and moving stuff around. Work my way down the leg. I'm going to come back up here. I'm going to press in. Again, a little bit broader, but with more pressure. And now, because the leg has rolled a little bit, here's his knee. Now we're working a little bit more on the top again, and that's going to be that rectus femoris or femoris, the hell dog. And then a little bit of Vastus Lateralis as well. How does that feel? And so I've got them held, and I'm going down or at this direction angle and slightly up because that's what feels good for my hips. That's where I'm feeling some tension, and this is just where I feel he needs. But you can go all the way around. The biggest thing when you're working on these muscles is to go very slowly. Quads in general are usually very tight on nearly everyone, and that's because we sit, we walk, we move around, we use our legs a lot, surprisingly. And when we sit for long periods of time, it can shorten these muscles. So they're very cranky when they get touched. So we want to be very, very gentle. Use broad pressure at first. And so what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of sandwiching his thigh and rolling it around. Now my heel is a little bit more on, just rolled onto TFL. And how's that pressure?
Good.
So Robert can handle some pressure, which is great. But as a giver with your receiver, just check in because it can be very intense. How's that? Yeah, the muscles. Yeah, that muscle rolling, you'll feel that. You'll feel the muscles move around as you're, moving the leg around. And that can be a little jarring for both you and your receiver. That's where you just take it slow and hold. And what I'm doing with my foot too is, again, this is the thigh. This is the nice flat part of my foot. I'm kind of wrapped it around his thigh. And then what I'm doing is just slowly rotating back and forth like this. If I find something, I'm leaning in this way. If I find something, I'm leaning in that way. And so I'm using the whole part of my foot to massage as I show you with my hands.